What is going on, everyone? My name is Joseph Reynolds, and today joining me once again, it must be the fifth time now. Can't get rid of him, but again, the former Cage Warriors middleweight champion, potentially soon to be once more, in Matt Bonner. Obviously, a big fight against Darren Stewart, not too far away. How are you feeling for that fight, buddy?
I'm feeling good. Training's going really well. I'm adding a few more tools to the toolbox, hopefully, and looking forward to it. You're right; it's got that kind of big fight feeling, this one, or it certainly has for me. So that's what I fight for. This is what I train for, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, and since being back at middleweight, you've continued to make these sort of statements after statement, and with a win here, obviously, it's a big name. Used to be in the UFC. Even if the people don't watch Cage Warriors, the most likely know who Darren Stewart is. Obviously. Again, another chance to make a big statement. So do you feel as though this fight is that #1 contenders fight for the middleweight title?
Yeah, I think so, but I kind of thought that. I thought I should be fighting for the title anyway. I think when Mick beat Will, I thought I was going to be the next one in line. So who knows? Maybe that'll be another fight after Darren Stewart as well. But I mean, personally, for me, this fight does feel bigger than me fighting for a title, because I've title. I'm a champion, but I've never beaten a UFC vet before, so that's something that would be nice to kind of tick that box. And that's what that's what fighters want. One UFC vet on our record, and that can open a few eyes and recognise.
Yeah, and as well at the moment in the division, especially right at the top, it seems there's been a few title changes. Different contenders, mixed opinions about different who's going to win this, who's going to win that. So in terms of sort of seeing the uncertainty around the division and all these big names obviously keep coming in, obviously you've got yourself, Darren Stewart, Will Curry, Mick Stan, and so many names that are sort of coming in. How does that sort of make you feel about the division and seeing where it is in the promotion at the moment?
I think it's exciting. I think you're right. I think there is some big names in the middleweight division now, and I think that's not always been the case. I think middleweights and above, like heavyweights, middleweights and whatnot, the divisions always seem to be a little bit slimmer than the welterweights and lightweights and below. So it's good to have contenders. It's good to have guys who've been to the UFC and what, and then other guys like Will Curry, who have been seen as really dangerous, up-and-coming prospects. So there is a little bit of everything in that division. I'm a veteran. I've won the title. Nick's kind of like a similar position now. Nick's been a former champion, he's a current champion. He's maybe coming into the last straight of his career, so there is a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and then in terms of sort of taking a look at the preparation for this fight, obviously seeing you training with your brother Dan Bonner as well, and then obviously Next Gen. In terms of getting those different sort of training partners in, and just having Next Gen that keeps growing and going on to bigger things, and then Dan as well to train with, what does that sort of do for your preparation, and how helpful has it been for this camp so far?
I'd say I've had a fantastic camp, and it's a little bit different. Generally, it's like an 8-week fight camp, I suppose. That's the cliche thing. And I think I found out I was fighting Darren Stewart about 6 weeks. It's been a 6-week fight camp, which I was training before. It was like a fight camp anyway, but you don't get that that mental fatigue. But it's like, oh my God, I've done this for 8 weeks, and I'm so tired. It's like the fight's here, it's on us, but. And I mean that in a good way. You feel a bit fresh. Yeah, there's not been pressure. There's not been any kind of messing about in camp, no injuries or anything. Preparation's been really good. Like you mentioned, I'm training with Dan a little bit more, which has never really seemed to come together. People are surprised by this. We never really trained together. He's busy in his Thai boxing. I've been very busy in the MMA side. He's got his family. I've got a baby now, so it's all come together nicely for this camp. He's fighting a week after for a world title down in London, so we're very much trying to help each other, assist each other, and hopefully both have some really good results come July.
Yeah, and then as well, in terms of sort of taking a look at this fight and the potential for it as well, without giving too much away, how do you sort of see this fight going, and what do you feel as though Darren is going to bring to the table when he does face you?
It's an interesting one, because I think if I was fighting, if I'd got this Darren Stewart fight 2 months ago, I'd have thought Darren Stewart's going to come out, he's going to brawl, he's going to try and take the head off, he's going to try and get a knockout. And then if you watch his last fight against Lena Liu in Rome, he very much goes to wrestling, which he doesn't really seem to have done that before. Now, has he done that because he's fighting Lena Liu, who's a big heavy hitter himself, or is he doing it because he's maybe wants to play it a little bit safer? He's getting a little bit older now, wants to be a little bit strategic with the way he approaches fights. it's a tricky one. I just say I'm ready to bring it to him. I want to put pace on the fight. I want to start fast. And let's see where the fight goes. But that will probably be more dependent on where he wants to take it more so than me. I'm quite comfortable everywhere. Where, like I say, in his last fight, he didn't seem very comfortable on the feet. He seemed very so to want to take it down and use his grappling.
Yeah, and then in terms of sort of taking a look at Darren Stewart, obviously the big plan for him, I'm sure, was to get back to the UFC as quick as he can. It may not have gone the way he thought. So do you feel as though there may subconsciously be a bit of pressure on himself almost? He thought he'd take this and go straight back to the UFC. He's been with Cage Warriors maybe longer than people expected him to be. So do you feel as though there might even be a bit of extra pressure on him that he takes going into this fight, obviously knowing that he's maybe a fight away from a title, which could mean back to the UFC for him?
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, it's always interesting for me. You've got guys who fight in the biggest promotions in the world, UFC in this case, and then they get given the walking papers. Maybe you lose a couple of fights in a row, and how does Darren Stewart feel now? He's not earning as much. There's not as much eyes. Maybe he's not getting the same sponsors and attention he was before. How motivated is he to want to keep doing this and what will happen if he loses this one more fight? Say he lost the Mick Stanton fight, which he seemed really crushed by, and then what would happen to him? Or if he lost to me, would he retire? I did hear at one point he wanted to go into some kind of boxing. I know KSI trains out of London Shoot Fighters, where Darren trains out of, so there was an interest in that for a while. That could just be pure speculation. That was just something I heard a while ago, well before I was matched up against him. But how motivated is he? How hard is he training? He's not fighting for big money anymore. I don't suppose. It's Cage or it's not UFC. So is he training as hard as he was before? Again, this is kind of questions, but we'll get the answers on July the 1st.
Yeah, when those sort of things do come up as speculation, obviously, in terms of if I start thinking about maybe different spots, different routes as well, do you feel as though that's when it starts to go a little bit off track for fighters? And in terms of staying on track, what's that been like to do for such a long time that you have been able to do in your career?
It's tough. It is tough because your attitude does change as you get older. I mean, again, I've had a newborn baby, he's 6 weeks old tomorrow, and you think, you know what, this isn't. I'm not fighting because I'm passionate about fighting anymore. There's still that. There's still, I'm not saying I've fell out of love with the sport or anything, but there has to be other components that comes into it now. I need a reason to be able to do this, and it can't be all because I want to do it because of legacy or because it makes me feel good being a world champion. One of those things now is I want to make some money. I want to provide for my family, for my child. I want to put some money in the bank so we're all secure if anything did happen. And I do wonder, is Darren going through the same thing? Is he looking for easy money fights? Is he looking at going and doing something else? And I'm not sure, but it certainly does change as you go older. And I think you can kind of, when we join the sport because we want to be UFC champions. Everyone joins for that, but then you have to be happy at what you do achieve in the end. I don't think I'm going to be a UFC champion, but I do think I can get to the UFC. I do think I've got the skills to compete at a very high level. So we'll see. I just need to win this fight and keep disciplined and keep motivated and wanting to do it.
Yeah, and obviously being a dad now as well, in terms of having that with you, do you feel as though it's lit another fire under yourself in terms of having that added extra motivation? And what has that been like, having that there, knowing that it's not just yourself that you're fighting for, but you have got a family as well to fight for at the same time?
It's interesting because I've never understood that kind of, I do this for my family, and you think, oh, what a load of rubbish, he's doing it because you want to do it. But now I've got a kid and a wife and whatnot. It's less so I don't do it because I'm not earning big money for Cage Warriors at all, but it's nothing. I want to do this to provide for my family. That's what I want it to become. But at the minute, I want to do this and do it at a high level because my son's going to watch me fight one day, and I don't want him watching his dad be a coward. I don't want him watching his dad, give up. It's okay to lose. I've lost before, but I'd never want to lose because I went in there, like I say, and I didn't commit, and I was a coward. And then, my boy's watching that at one point, going, God, that's, I'm I don't know, I'm maybe a little bit embarrassed. I want my son to be proud of me when he's older and when he can watch these fights, and I don't want him to be embarrassed and ashamed of his dad.
Yeah, and to already sort of look back on the career that you've had, obviously, you've seen success has been bumps in the road, but you've always been able to overcome it. So, do you feel as though to have those places where you've shown you can overcome adversity and you've shown you can reach those heights of becoming a world champion as well, in terms of keeping on and staying motivated to achieve new goals, but knowing that other people can look at what you've done and draw inspiration from that, what does that feel like for you to obviously know that not only are you able to fight at a great level, but you're able to be in a position where you can inspire people as well?
It's quite nice actually because I don't suppose many people care about Matt Bonner's career and whatnot, but I have had. There's one fella in particular at Next Gen. He's actually from another gym, but he used to come to Next Gen just to kind of spar and whatnot. And I think he ended up getting knocked out in his professional debut. I won't mention his name, but he said, it's kind of made it easier for me knowing that Matt Bonner. I lost my first two pro fights, and it makes me think, if you can do it, then there's a chance that I can do it as well. And I thought, do you know what? That's actually worth losing for. If that does inspire, whether that's a little bit, I don't know, a little bit too much, but if that does help people to say, well, if Matt can do it, I can do it, then, like I say, I'll take the losses. And yeah, kind of. It meant quite a lot when he said that. To be honest, I have had lots of ups and downs, but I have managed to kind of pick yourself up. And I always say I'm like the world's best loser. No one wants to be the world's best loser, but it's nice to be able to lose and go through those dark moments and come out the other end and grow from it.
Yeah, and then obviously having those different experiences, knowing what it's like to lose, knowing what it's like to win, and all these different things as well. In terms of looking at fighters that come through now, do you almost sort of see a bit of yourself in those that are coming up, or do you feel as though even now in the years that the whole complexion of sort of MMA in the UK has changed quite a lot, or what do you sort of see the sport at the moment?
I see the second way you said it then Joe. It's becoming. I feel like. And people have said this to me, like, oh God, I just don't, if I lost one fight, that'd be it for me. And I've seen guys in the gym who were, 4-0, 5-0 and lose one fight and then just kind of just melt and never be able to find that confidence again. And like I said before, I think that's what I would be embarrassed by. It's not the loss, it's not losing, because we all lose, and if we don't lose in fights, we lose in life. But it's just the ability to say or not to be able to come back from that. And I always think, God, it's super naive and super obnoxious to think you were never going to lose in this game. This is the toughest sport in the world, but people lose one fight and just seem to melt and give up and find excuses and blame teammates and blame coaches and whatnot. And you think, Christ, just get on with it and learn from your mistakes and go again.
And then just a final thing for myself is obviously, as you mentioned, a big fight in Cardiff, Darren Stewart, in terms of what people can expect to see from yourself as fight night, if they somehow aren't aware as of yet, what does that look like a little bit?
It's going to be an exciting fight. In terms of my mentality, I'm going there with, kill or be killed. I'm going to put it on the line. I'm going to be in his face. This idea that he's got all this power, I agree with. But let's see if he can land it. Let's see if I can land mine. I think I've been a little bit kind of. There's only been one or two fights where I really feel like I've stood in front of someone and gone, "Come on, let's have a bit of a scrap then." And that was the James Webb fight and probably the Matt Inman fight. And that's what it's going to be like. It's going to be a tear up. And if that means I'm going to get chinned at the end of it, then so be it. But what I certainly don't want is after those 3 rounds going, I just didn't pull the trigger. So it's going to be an exciting fight. Let's see where it goes. Let's see where Darren wants to take it and tune in and watch it.
100%. Well, that is everything from me. If you'd like to take a chance to your sponsors, anything like that, obviously feel free to go ahead.
Thanks yourself for having me on again. Thanks to my sponsors, Liberalis, Tunnel Vision, Pitbull, Power Through, and there's probably loads more that I've forgotten about as well. Thanks to my teammates. Thanks to my wife and Arthur, my son, and my brother. And again, thanks for having me on.
An absolute pleasure as always. Thank you very much. Obviously, July 1st, big card in Cardiff, lots of great fights. Matt Bonner obviously included in that list as well. So I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, buddy. See you soon.
See you soon.